Hello, this is White Birch Tarot and Astrology. I'm doing a reading for the full moon in Aries, which has already happened, and I'm on camera because I'm too lazy to get out of bed. And I didn't print out the chart, so I'm just going to talk about it a little bit, and then I pulled some cards, and I have a new deck, a new oracle deck, the Shaman's Dream, which if you watch Gemma, she has it, and my friend at Dogstar Tarot, who I highly recommend, she has this. So, when I show it on here, it's backwards to me, but I think you can see it. Anyway, I pulled 3 of those cards, but I just want to talk about just a couple things going on. As I said, the full moon was yesterday, kind of, but anyway, it's still hanging around in Aries, 14 degrees. And I just want to read 2 quick quotes. One is from the writer F. Scott Fitzgerald. He said, "Show me a hero and I'll write you a tragedy." And this is from a person who watches my channel. I'll call her a friend, even though we've never met in person. I won't give her full name, but her name is Ginger C, so you know who you are if you're watching. She said, "Do something different, be good to yourself, and don't be afraid to make changes." That's really good for this full moon in Aries, I think. And so I'll talk about that briefly, and then there's a couple other aspects going on. So the full moon, the moon was in Aries, still probably is just leaving Aries, I think, at 14 degrees. And so that means the sun was in Libra, 14 degrees. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's our desires, our identity, actions, like the essence of who we are, sort of our child self in a way. It's kind of like, I always think of like Aries as being kind of like teenager energy or child energy. It's the beginning, I think about, it's funny because when I've been thinking about the full moon in Aries for a couple days, I've been seeing red hearts everywhere I look, in videos and like everywhere. And then I'll show you the first card I drew, but because I think we're defined by what we love, our passions. Aries is very passionate, and it's ruled by Mars. And so where was I going with that? I get so scatterheaded during a full moon, it's not even funny. But it's about our core identity on a very, like, I want to say like a basic level, but I don't mean like basic as in stupid or, primitive, kind of, but like, not stupid, but I don't even know why I said that. But I mean, like, it's like you whittle everything away, and it's like Aries is the beginning, the first step, when you have that urge to do something. And if you take everything away, it's like, I always feel like it's just what's left. It's like at the heart, even though Leo rules the heart. I know Aries rules the head, but still. And also I've been thinking along with the heart, I just lost my thought again. Well, it will come back to me. There's something else I was thinking of, and the Fool, of course. The Fool is the 0 card in the tarot, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, but the very first degree of the zodiac is 0 degrees of Aries. So I guess that's why it reminds me of 0. It's potential, and then you take that first step. So the full moon could be asking us to take a risk, to do something that we want to do that we are maybe scared of doing, because Aries rules courage. It's the knight on the white horse, any horse. It's saving the underdog. It's, I almost said fools rush in where angels fear to tread, but I don't mean fool again as in foolish, but as in that beginning stage, just that first leap of desire that you have. And, we usually think before we grab something, although, I don't know, anybody else have Mars in Aries? Sometimes I grab first, think later. That happens. And also, does anybody else out there have Mercury in Aquarius? I'm off topic here, but I just want to show you my notes so you'll know what I go through. Yeah, this is like, it's not linear. I will just say that. So the sun is in Libra, so we have the full moon in Aries, which calls us to be individual, and not in the way that Aquarius is individual, not like eccentric, but like our basic authenticity. We want authenticity with Aries, and with the full moon opposite the sun in Libra, we want connection. So we want people to be authentic with us, and we want people to see our authentic selves. That's very important during a full moon in Aries, I feel. And so you could be longing for connection, but not superficial connection. And then with the sun in Libra, you have the desire to please others. And of course, moon in Aries is about, what do I want? What do I desire? And so there can be a little bit, well, there is an opposition because they're opposite each other when there's a full moon. So there's a a juggling act between what do I want, what do I deserve, and then what can I do for others? Because, Aries, again, being ruled by Mars wants to save everybody and is really in favor of the underdog. And there's an innocence and a purity about Aries, too. Passion, determination, I'm looking at my notes. What else? And it's, it can be kind of, it asks a lot of us because it wants us to be brave. And I was thinking about courage, and I thought, if you're saying that you're courageous, it means you're being faced with something you're afraid of, because otherwise, why would you need courage? So, yeah, it's about self-awareness. Who am I? What do I want? You want something new, perhaps. And then at the same time, we have Mercury just moved in, or is just now moving into Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto. And Mercury at the beginning of Scorpio is squaring Pluto in Aquarius because they're both fixed signs. So, right off the bat, Mercury moves into Scorpio, and Mercury in Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of things, wants to know secrets, and wants to know, what's behind things people say and what the truth is, and you can't hide anything from Scorpio energy. So there's this digging, down to the bottom, and Pluto rules the subconscious. And so right off the bat, but the square is uncomfortable energy. They're kind of bumping heads. So Mercury's, perhaps asking a little too much. And we might feel secretive at this time, or feel like others are being secretive. But again, with that full moon in Aries, we want authenticity. So there's kind of a disconnect there. And Mars is also in Scorpio at about 10 degrees. So Mars is just moving away from a square that he just had with Pluto. And of course, Mars rules the Aries full moon because he rules Aries. So Mars with Pluto is about, it's about channeling our energy towards something that's constructive and creative rather than something chaotic, because, Pluto can be a little chaotic at times, and so can Mars. And again, Mercury squaring Pluto can also discover Pluto's power. So Mercury and Pluto you can kind of discover that your words or your thoughts are really powerful in a positive way and in a negative way. You have to be careful what you say, and others might hurt your feelings too, because there can be power struggles. And with Mars squaring Pluto, that can occur on a very physical level, an energetic level. And then with the Mercury square, it can happen in conversations. So you could be really struggling with something here. Maybe you're, dealing with someone who's difficult. There's a power struggle. And, maybe it's someone who's mentally compromised. Maybe it's, it can be all kinds of things with Pluto. But it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's interesting, and you can learn a lot, but sometimes you have to hold your tongue. Okay, so, and of course, Pluto rules Scorpio, where Mercury and Mars are, so that kind of gives him the edge there just a little bit. that's kind of where the power struggle comes into. You know, well, this is kind of off the topic, but when a planet is in a sign, let's see, how did Liz Green put it? She says, like, when a planet moves into a sign, so like Mercury just moved into Scorpio, then Mercury has to put on the clothes and use the tools of Scorpio. And whichever house he's in, and that depends on your own personal chart where this fell in your chart, that determines like what temple you're in. Does that make sense? Not really, because to me the temple would be the same as the tools and I'll have to think about that. But I know that when they're in that sign, it's like they have to work like the ruler of that energy. So Mercury has to be more Plutonian and more like Scorpio energy. That's just, it's like they get colored by that. And then in a few days, we're going to have some Venus things happening and some Black Moon Lilith. It's going to be really interesting. I'll talk about that later because there's just too much. But let's see. Is there anything I'm missing? And don't forget that Chiron is still in Aries at the tail, like 24. Chiron's been retrograde in Aries for a long time. So we've been working on self-identity for a long time and trying to discover what we want. And I think this Mercury and Mars squaring Pluto is going to help us discover that, but that's not always easy. So this full moon in Aries can bring in, it can bring in a lot of passion. It can be very positive. But again, since it's about being courageous and brave and authentic, that can be kind of scary. And that can also mean you're facing something that's frightening because it's about taking risks and taking the first step. So let me show you what I drew here. I drew 3 cards. These are oracle cards, okay? And I told you I kept seeing like red hearts. And then the very first card I drew, it's a red, I think it's either a Christmas, no, it's a red heart. Kind of looks like a Christmas ornament too, but look at all the red hearts. I just knew it. It says heart home, compassion. And I've been feeling like this Aries energy, this Aries full moon was going to have a lot to do with love and compassion. And I was talking about that the other night with, let me get the book so I don't miss something. This is a new deck for me, so I'm learning it. And I'm not going to read everything, but it says, love in its truest form, compassion. That's true. Put everything on hold for a short while. You are being offered the experience of love in its purest form, unconditional and unbounded. There is no need to forgive anyone for anything. None of it occurred in spiritual truth. It is only your belief in that story that makes it so powerful. Allow your love to wash clean all those impressions. Empty yourself of all judgment and preconceptions and allow spirit to fill you with the sweet nectar of peace. Okay. I think it's about being authentic. You know, when you're authentic, then you draw to you that which resonates with you. And also, now my hair's sticking out. And also, you know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, home is where the heart is. And someone was in my house, I don't have people here very often, maybe a week or so ago, and was commenting on, oh, you're so lucky to have such a large bathroom or something. And I thought, well, it's just more to clean. But the point is, I was thinking, a house is only a home based on who's in it with you, as far as I'm concerned. So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. But, yeah, I think this is about finding your true, when you find your true self, then you will find the other people who resonate with you. And to me, the people are what makes everything home, even your heart. And like I said, Aries, the full moon in Aries is about like, what do you feel? You know, what really draws you? What do you love? What else can I say? So I think this is about love. And it's also about loving yourself, loving your identity. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Be kind to yourself and allow yourself to discover that really authentic part of yourself and, you know, play a little bit. And then I drew Feast of plenty, choices and their consequences. Okay, this could be Mercury and Pluto because Mercury is about choices. And let's see. And Pluto's in Aquarius. I think more of choices like being Gemini energy, but really all the air signs, and Mercury is about thinking and choosing. So this says options, choices and their consequences, life's blessings. You are faced with a plethora of options right now, and while that may seem to be an extraordinary thing, too many choices can throw you off balance. Yes, I agree with that. You might be worried that once you commit, you won't be able to turn back or refuse to confront the consequences of that decision. The most important thing to realize is that the feast is offering you experience. No amount of overanalyzing or strategizing will help you make the right choice now. Don't debate the right or wrongness. Instead, just choose. In the choosing is the seed of experience, and that is what is necessary now. You know, somebody just told me that the other day when I said I was afraid I'd made the wrong choice about something, and they said, you can't make the wrong choice because either way, you're going to learn something. Do I believe that? Obviously, I think you can make wrong choices. True, you make a bad choice and you can learn from it, but I think I'm overly fixated on making right choices, though. I'm not great at making choices, so perhaps. It says only one warning. Avoid the same choice if it keeps you hungry. If something didn't feel good or does not bring you what it seemingly promised, do not choose that again. The experience will only repeat itself. Yes. Now that is true. That is absolutely true. So we need to think about, you know, before we take the leap of faith that the Fool does, like in the tarot where he's jumping, you know, off the cliff or whatever, we need to ask ourselves, what happened last time we jumped off the cliff? On the other hand, you don't want to be frozen in fear, so there's that. And also, this looks like the full moon to me, and the last card I drew also has a full moon in it. Fool's Embrace. I don't think that's the sun. I think that's the fool. I think that's the moon. Transmuting pain. Okay, here we go. I'm getting a lot of pain lately, but I knew we'd get a fool. If I would have drawn tarot cards, I think we would have gotten the fool. He's got a very pointy head. Looks rather painful. I don't know. It's like a city in his head. I was just reading some Lawrence Ferlinghetti poetry the other night, and I'd forgotten how much I love his poetry, and I think he had a bookstore in San Francisco called The City of Lights. What does that have to do with anything? And he was writing a poem about one of my all-time favorite poets, Kenneth Patchen, Patchen. If you've never read Kenneth Patchen, oh my God, he's amazing. One night I'll read a Kenneth Patchen poem. I think you're allowed to. He passed away. Okay, so Fool's Embrace says transmuting pain, allowing life to love you, the experience of both/and. Well, that's interesting since we got compassion, letting life love you, and we got choices and their consequences, and this says both and. Okay, interesting. No matter where on the spectrum of pain you find yourself now, whether it be mild disappointment or searing loss, it's time to make peace with it. Befriend it rather than resisting it, running from it, or judging it as bad or unfair or hostile. Can you see the gift that is here? I don't know, it's hard. Sometimes. Surrender to the Fool's Embrace, allowing the truth to envelop you in love and compassion. Interesting, we get two compassions. What if you could learn something amazing from this? What if I'm tired of learning and I just want to go play on the beach? No, okay. What is truly yours will not pass you by. That's what my friend told me the other day. Something better and perfect for you is waiting elsewhere. Okay. If you could come to terms with the liberation and freedom inherent in loss, your broken heart might open you up to a greater sense of humanity and compassion. As in the narrative of tarot, the Fool will be at the beginning of your life's adventure and at the end when you've integrated all the wisdom you've accumulated along the journey. He will never let you down or lie to you. He will, however, teach you how to revel in both the beauty and desperation of life, both/and. This and that will always be true. That's really profound. Remember, the pearl can't be created without the gritty sand causing discomfort and acting as a catalyst in the oyster. Your pearl is discovered in radical acceptance that everything has value. All is well now and will be well. Remember that today as you feel the Fool's Embrace. So what am I wearing? I'm wearing my pearl that my husband gave me for our first wedding anniversary. My late but always punctual husband. Anyway, that's really interesting because I was thinking about that when I talked at the beginning about how it brings out courage, but in order to bring out courage, we kind of have to do something scary. And it's the same with joy, you know? And love. I mean, the more you open yourself up, the more you are risking getting hurt. And this full moon in Aries is all about thinking about, what do I really want, and am I brave enough to go for it? And that doesn't mean we have to jump off the cliff right now, because we have other things that are telling us to slow down. But I got this very strong feeling about this full moon, is that this is starting something in motion that we've been waiting for a long time. We had the eclipse season. Everything felt like it was on hold. Everything, all the outer planets are in reverse. Sorry. Retrograde. And, well, same thing, kind of. Sorry, I'm so tired. And so everything feels to me like it's just been stuck. I've been so stuck, and I'm still dealing with my air conditioning problem. It popped up again. I'm like, seriously? Oh my God. Anyway, I think this is going to start things finally moving. We're going to get to take some small steps ahead. And while there is loss involved in this and coming to terms with it, I still feel like the new world that we keep getting in the cards, I think it's finally starting to show its, I was going to say its ugly face. No. That's just me being goofy. It's not ugly at all. It's beautiful. I'm just being silly. It's that's just a saying we have over here. You know? So, the Fool's Embrace. And, you know, we get compassion. So perhaps we're being embraced by something that's larger than we are, and we don't even realize it. But anyway, leave me a comment and let me know how this full moon energy is treating you. Sorry I was a little bit late, but it was unavoidable. And I will post in a few days because we got some other stuff coming up. And I think that's it. So take care. Blessings, everyone. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. My weather just changed like overnight here. It's freezing cold. That's neither here nor there. And thank you for listening. Blessings. Good night.